Devastation continues after Monday's 7.8 earthquake affecting parts of Turkey and Syria.
The confirmed death toll has climbed to over 20,000 now, including at least 3 Americans. Turkish officials calling this the deadliest earthquake in a century.
So to give us an update on the recovery and the aid, joining us this morning is Mark Smith from World Vision this morning. Hi, Mark.
Hi, good morning.
Mark, it's great to have you. So we understand that World Vision has teams on the ground and actually started assessing the damage just hours after the quake. So the question, what are they seeing, and have they seen anything like this before?
So have they seen anything like this before? This is a new experience for our teams on the ground. As an organization, World Vision has gone through similar situations in other parts of the world, but the situation is very desperate on the ground. You have people who are afraid to go back inside, whether it's into their homes or into temporary shelters. It's wintertime, so they are really struggling with the conditions there. What we're finding is water systems have been damaged, and so trying to find safe drinking water, something that we take for granted, is very, very difficult. We have a lot of clinics that have been damaged and hospitals that have been damaged, and so they are not functioning up to full capacity, and they are overwhelmed at the same time. You also have a lot of people just struggling to find food at this point. So there's so many needs that we're seeing on the ground at this point.
And you touched on it, but what are the biggest challenges with the relief efforts there in terms of the scope of the disaster, along with local governments and the travel restrictions?
Right. So I would say that in Turkey, for the most part, while that country and the response has been overwhelmed, at least you have a strong functioning government that's facilitating access to the most critical areas. I think the bigger challenge that we're facing is in northwest Syria. This is an area that is not controlled by the Syrian government. You have different rebel groups that are in control of different areas. You have limited access from Turkey into this area. Only 6 lorries have been able to get into the area so far with relief supplies. There's no access from the government of Syria side, from Damascus, and yet the needs are extremely high. You had 4.5 million people living in that area prior to the earthquake, of which 4.1 were in need of humanitarian assistance prior to the earthquake. Over half that population had been displaced from other parts of Syria during the war. And so now you put this earthquake on top of that, and we're seeing really desperate situations in northwest Syria.
When you talk about desperate situations, can you go more into that? And can you also, how do your teams feel in those situations? Do they feel safe? Do they feel welcome? What are you hearing from them?
Right. So, of course, one of the first things that we were doing was checking on the safety of our staff and their families. And fortunately, in Turkey and in Syria, all of our families and staff members were safe. We also have a lot of volunteers that work with our program, and we did lose one volunteer and her family in northwest Syria. And so that was really tragic to hear. Wow. I think what we're attempting to do is give our staff a sense of security that, okay, your families are going to be okay, allowing them to go to work. Doing the assessments, you say we were doing assessments on day one. We were actually starting to provide heating supplies on day one. And now we're moving into providing things such as bedding and warm clothes and clean water and things such as that. So I think our team, they're scared. They have been scared, but they're at work. And then we also work with a lot of Syrian partners as well. And they are more than ready to swing into gear also.
We've got a lot of people watching here at home who obviously want to help, and there's not a lot that you feel you can do when you're thousands of miles away. But how can we support your relief efforts at this point?
So I'll just be honest. The best way to do support is to provide cash. There are a lot of well-meaning and good-hearted people that are prepared to provide food or clothing or bedding or different types of materials. The time it takes to get it there is just too much of a lag. Secondly, it's going to cost us more to get it there than it would be to purchase in the area. So the best thing that you can do is provide financial support. You can go to worldvision.org. We have a link there, but if you have trusted organizations that are working in that area, reach out to them as well. But pretty much every agency would say that the best way you can help is to provide financial support.
And Mark, I apologize to go back to the last thing that I had asked you, but you mentioned that you lost someone in Syria. That's the first we're hearing about that. I'm so sorry. Is there anything else you can say about that or further about that?
So we have education programming that we're doing in Northwest Syria, and we have a lot of volunteers that assist in our education program. And this was a woman, she perished as her home collapsed. Oh, wow. We understand that her children collapsed with her or died as well. And so just a very tragic situation.
Mark, I'm so sorry.
No question about that. I'm so sorry for your loss. Mark Smith with World Vision, we appreciate your insight and all the great work that you're doing out there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. And, you know, if you would like to help, I mean, we just heard from Mark, they desperately need help from people. If you would like to help the victims in Turkey and Syria and the efforts from World Vision as well, we have a link to several different organizations, including World Vision, fox13seattle.com. And thank you in advance for helping. I mean, they definitely need all the help they can get right now.
All the help they can get.